Okay. All right. Well, welcome back. Hopefully you've been able to find some of your tutoring resources and make yourself a really nice directory so that the next time you kind of get stuck, you've got a quick reference to go by. Now I want to talk about the next segment of the workshop, which is how to improve your performance. And I'm going to share my screen just for a bit. Okay. And there's a lot of things to talk about when we talk about improving your own performance. Students think, oh, well, I need flashcards, or oh, well, I just need to study more, or I need to put more time into it, or I need to do X, Y, or Z. And really, there's a science to learning. People don't think about that, but there is a science to learning. There are all different kinds of learners. Different students will learn different ways, and that's okay. The critical thing is for you to figure out how you learn, how you can best organize your time and use it most effectively. The students who study best are not the students who study most. They're the students who study best. So let's talk about time management, since that seems to be a popular issue. We actually have an entire workshop called Timely Time Management, where we spend an hour and a half and go over everything that there is to do in time management. But the first thing is to set a schedule. For some people, a daily schedule works best. You get up in the morning, same time, you start your routine, and you have hourly blocks of how you're going to manage your time. That's great. For some students, that doesn't work. For some students, they would prefer to kind of wing it as long as they are constantly checking their schedule and making sure that they have put in the requisite number of hours in a week. And that's okay as well. No matter how you do it, you've got to have some kind of time management. The important thing is to do it with intentionality. That this is what I'm doing, this is when I'm spending time on my classes. I have talked with a student recently. In all of this working at home and studying at home, it becomes difficult to set a schedule, and it becomes difficult to set a time that you can work at home. But it's important that you do that. Set up a study space. That this is my study space. This is where I'm going to work from. And that your children, your siblings, your roommates, your parents all know that when you are in this space, you are working. You're not available. They should think of you as being gone at college and not available for, doing laundry or cooking something or just chit-chatting, because you are prioritizing your schoolwork. And I talked with a student recently who said that she found that she was able to do that in the bathtub. She does all of her studying in the bathtub. And I said, why in the bathtub? And she said, well, it's the only room in the house that my children know that they're not supposed to bother me. So she takes half-hour, 45-minute blocks at a time, and she goes and sits in the bathtub with her laptop, and she gets her work done. And if it works for her, it works. I said, you go for it. Whatever makes it happen for you at this point in time, don't feel it's silly, don't feel it's outlandish, just do it. So some students will do that. One of the things that we have is we have a wonderful time management tool that I'm going to introduce you to at the end of this segment. And it's talking about what kind of time that you have in your day, what kind of time you have in your week, and being able to prioritize your tasks and see what kinds of things you really do have time for. Let's talk a little bit about study skills. I've mentioned that there are a variety of ways to study. Important things about study skills: stay organized, whatever that looks like for you, whether that's sticky notes on your wall, whether it's a list that you constantly organize, whether you have some kind of app on your phone, on your computer, on your Apple Watch, on your whatever, and you use this app to keep yourself organized and keep on track. For some people, it's lists and lists and lists. That's okay. That's okay. Whatever it takes to stay organized. But some of the things to be considering now when our classes are going online and we're not used to them going online. First of all, are the in-person parts of your class changing? What are the in-person parts of your class? Your lecture probably is now a video. What about the lab? How is your professor handling that? Where is that video? When can you access it? Is it a specific time, or can you view it anytime? And if you can view it anytime, are you the kind of person that has the motivation and the self-discipline to watch it at any time? Or are you better off watching it at the prescribed time because that will make you do it? And I know that I'm the latter person. If it's at a prescribed time, I'm much more likely to actually get it done. Are your assignments changing? Are there new due dates? Are you submitting your assignments differently? You cannot hand in a piece of paper anymore. How do you submit your assignments through My Courses? And what if you need help? Is your professor offering virtual office hours? For many of our professors, they are offering that on either WebEx or Zoom, where you can go at a specific time and just drop in, and that's great. Is there an online forum for answering questions? And we're going to talk a lot about group study in a minute. But there are some group study opportunities that GCC has available that you can use to improve your own performance. I want to talk a little bit about multitasking. Multitasking, people think, oh, I can do this and do that at the same time. And yes, you can. But no, you can't. When you are multitasking, assignments take longer. Almost always. Every time you divert your attention to something else and then you come back to your assignment, you have to take a moment to get your head back into that assignment space. And so that assignment takes longer. Finding your spot, remembering what the next step was, and sometimes you miss steps and you make mistakes. You're more likely to make mistakes because you're switching back and forth. And when your brain is divided, you are going to remember less. You're less able to commit what you have learned to long-term memory because your short-term memory is so full. It's having a hard time with committing those things to long-term memory. It doesn't get encoded properly in your brain. So what should you do? You should focus on one thing at a time. Okay? You should take breaks in between your work. There's a reason that college courses are, in roughly 45-minute slots. I mean, if you have an hour-and-a-half class, very frequently you'll have a break in the middle. If you have a 3-hour class, you definitely have a break or two. And there's a reason for that. It's because your brain can only actively study for so long. So do feel free to take some breaks, as long as you get that studying done. Just 5 to 10 minutes and then come back to what you were doing. Let's talk about video lectures, making the most of your video lectures. When you are doing video lectures, first of all, stick to your instructor's schedule as much as you can, okay? The schedule will give you more of a feeling of normalcy. If you have a live schedule, you can ask questions, and that's wonderful. And it will make sure that you get the work done and you're not leaving it until the last minute and trying to rush. You won't be falling behind. Close any distracting tabs or apps. Turn your ringer off on your phone. Do it as if you were actually there in the classroom. Take notes. Many students watching video lectures forget to take notes. They treat it like Netflix or television, and they sit and passively watch. But passively watching is not actively learning. There's a reason there's active in front of actively learning. Take notes as if you were there in person. Feel free to pause the video if you need to take additional notes or make additional comments on your paper. Write your questions in the margins so that you know to ask them later. Watch your recordings at normal speed. Watching them at 1.5 speed is really cool. You get to finish your lecture super fast, but you also absorb less. It lowers retention. It results on lower scores on tests. You don't remember as much. Okay? So definitely read them on the actual speed. And you're going to be making some new strategies. Just be ready for this. If your current strategy or your previous strategy was to go down to the student union and hang out with some friends and talk about your classes and talk about the material and go over your notes together, that's going to be a little bit harder to do online. You're going to have to figure out a new way of doing that. Maybe you're going to review it with your spouse or your roommate, or maybe you're going to get online with your friends at a particular time and try and do that. Or maybe you're going to watch some extra videos on the subject outside of your class to try and help you reabsorb the material. if you normally like to have tight timelines and your schedule is wide open, you're going to have to figure out how you organize that and how you change your strategies. So you're going to throw out some of your previous learning strategies and make some new ones, and that's okay. You'll spend some time in adjustment and you will make that happen. Just keep trying things until you figure out what works. Be intentional. Be intentional about what you're doing and figure out what works and make notes. Okay, you know what works for me? This works for me. So I'm going to keep doing this. Oh, I did that and now I really can't remember what I did last night. I'm going to have to do it again, and I'm not going to do it that way next time. And finally, let's talk about group or peer learning. Peer learning is learning on steroids. Peer learning is really, really good learning because if you can explain it to someone else, you can more fully understand it yourself. Working in groups is an amazing way of learning. Way back, Socrates would have people sitting around and just talking about a subject, and that is learning. So when you're working with a group or team, first of all, we have online GCC's learning communities. I talked about that in the last segment. We do have some opportunities for you to get online at a scheduled time with other GCC students in the same major, in the same class, and kind of have a time to get together and talk about these things and do that group study or peer learning. When you're working with a group or team, first of all, try and keep up with the lectures. Okay, group study and peer learning works best if you're all on the same page. So if you're 2 lectures behind everybody else, you're not going to have the same value from that group experience that other people are. Secondly, make sure you meet regularly. Our learning communities are meeting once a week. If you would like to meet more often than that, make a schedule to meet more often than that. Arrange a time where you get together, grab a coffee or your favorite beverage, grab your notes, and just get online with your friends and make that happen. Set a purpose for your meetings, okay, and use shared notes if you can. We can use shared notes docs in Google Docs. All GCC students have Google Docs accounts because of your email. And you can work in shared documents, and you can make comments, and you can work together on projects. We can actually do group projects online, and we can actually see who's doing the work. That's awesome. Keep your videos open when you can so you can see what's going on, and check with each other often. If someone is meeting with you online on a regular basis and all of a sudden they're not there, check in with that person and see how they are. Maybe you're that person. Wouldn't you like to have someone check in on you? Get connected with a group and work with other people. So I'm going to take a moment to talk to you about our next set of exercises. And I need to pull them up, don't I? There we are. So I'm going to share my screen with you once again and talk to you about the next set of exercises. This exercise is called our time planning sheet, and we've used this for many, many semesters at GCC very successfully, and many students, as simple as this is, find it extremely useful. You're going to print this out. If you can't print it out, grab yourself a piece of lined paper and kind of follow along with it. And the instructions are right on here. You're going to enter your life commitments. You have to make dinner daily. Really, you do have to eat dinner daily. It's one of the things that we find that when you're staying at home, you tend to forget to eat. Don't forget to eat. Write in breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Any kinds of regular activities that you need to do. So, for example, your classes. That's part 2. Your classes should be in there that are meeting at a specific time. If your class is not meeting at a specific time, put a specific time on this time planning sheet anyway, just to make sure that you're putting in the time that you need. Next, you add 2 hours of study for every hour in class. This is a SUNY standard across the state of New York. All of our colleges are expecting you to spend 2 hours outside of class studying in addition to every hour that you spend in lecture. So for example, if you have a 3-credit class, you should be spending a total of 9 hours per week working in this class, 3 in the class, and 6 hours of study, homework, and other activities related to the class. And that's normal. So if you've ever wondered why 12 hours of classes or 12 credits of classes is full-time, that's why. Because when you multiply it by 3, you get 36 hours, and there's a full-time job. Finally, you're going to put in any extra stuff. If you've got yoga that you're doing online, if you're doing fitness activities, if you're running daily, good for you. Keep running. With safe social distancing, but keep running. Put that on your schedule. Put any self-care items on your schedule, and don't feel like you have to dismiss them. Make sure you put some good self-care in there, whether it's reading a book, whether it's going out for a run, whether it's painting, whether you like putting together puzzles. Maybe it's getting online with Zoom and just chit-chatting with some friends. Have a tea party on Zoom. Okay, whatever you need to do for your personal care, put it in there and make sure it's in there. And now you have some idea of what your schedule looks like. And you will plan the better for your schedule. Okay, so that's our activity for this segment of the workshop. As far as study skills are something that you will be working on. We do have also another workshop coming up called Adapting Your Learning Style, where we talk about different learning styles. We'll have you do a self-assessment on how you learn and talk about how you can adapt that learning style to an online environment. And of course, the group situations, take a moment to write down our learning communities that may apply to you. My computer wants to load Photoshop. All I want to do is look at an image, but it wants to load Photoshop. All right, come on, you. There we are. But take a moment to write down this schedule, any classes that apply to you. If you're in any CIS class, Wednesdays at 11:30 a.m. If you're in a math class, Thursday at 3 p.m. If you are in any kind of science, physical science, physics, chemistry, biology, astronomy, any of those, Wednesday at 1 p.m. Write down any and all of those learning communities that apply to you so that you can be there the next time that they are available. And that is our next activity, and I'll see you on the afterwards.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording.
Okay.